or Tank12, however you want to call me, I don't really care. And what are we doing today? Well, today we are going to take a look at the three tanks that I have currently on the three barrel rolls, or whatever you want to call it. I have to check real fast. I think it's the marks of excellence, exactly. The three tanks that I currently have three stripes on, or three stars on, whatever. And let's jump right in. It's not going to be a video that's going to be too long, but we're going to take one closer look at one of these contestants. That is going to be the Leopard Prototype A, because it is my most recent one. So the oldest tank that I have three marks of excellence on is the T32. And I know this tank was probably one of the tanks that no one liked to play back in the days. Until I think they buffed it a little bit. The gun is garbage. The turret is incredibly good. The hull armor is exceptionally, actually well armored. If you compare it to the T29, it is much better than the T29's frontal armor. I think it does have more armor as well, 127. I'm not entirely sure, but at least it's better angled and it does bounce more shots. If you're interested in what kind of mod I'm using right here, this is a garage mod, and I'm currently on D-Day on the Normandy map of World of Tanks, and I think it's pretty damn neat because you can take a look at these tanks and have a free cam as well, which I can actually try out right here. Since free cam, let's see, in the options, switch back, keyboard settings, save map as hanger, switch forward, switch back, numpad 4. Yeah, never mind. I have no idea how to do that, but numpad 4, I should be able to do that. But yeah, I just installed this mod, so nothing too spectacular happened right here. So this tank, a tier 8 that maybe should have gotten a better gun, but then would have been maybe too strong. I will try to make a video about this tank and when I got the TheFrXion. Currently, I haven't played it for a very long time, so I don't think it's exactly at 95.01. It's actually one of the tier 8s that I've played the most games in, at least from the non-premium ones. Since the Löwe and the T34 obviously have more games than this one. But unfortunately on the Löwe and the T34, we can check those tanks out real fast. This is the T34. I have two marks on this tank, but I never managed to get the third one. I'm on 88.2%, but I haven't played this tank in over a year, I think. I haven't played this tank in a year. That really shows you that I haven't really had that much of an interest in getting a 3 mark on that vehicle. Same for the Löwe, 87.66. I've played it a few times in the last few months. It has gotten buffed. It's much better than it was before, and maybe I'll get the best mark of excellence on this tank. 3 marks. This is my aim for a lot of tanks. I have like 2 marks on most of my tanks that I play a lot. The E75, I haven't played this tank in a very long time, but still it's on the two marks, 86.64. A tank that, in my opinion, is one of the best tier 9 heavy tanks. But moving on, let's go over to the next 3 marked tank, and that is going to be the T54, a tier 9 Soviet medium tank, and it just looks absolutely stunning with the 3 stars. I think it's my favorite design, the 3 stars, the 3 red Soviet stars on the barrel. It just shows you, I think it shows you, well, this guy really knows how to play this tank, and it's one of my best tier 9 tanks, statistically speaking as well. 2,314 base damage, 8 top guns. It's definitely one of those vehicles that that really can perform in every situation. It doesn't matter if it's a dire situation or if it's a good one. You'll be able to handle a lot of things with this tank. That's why people love it. That's why I love this tank. Now moving on to the last tank that I have 3 marks on. That is the Leopard Prototype A. And this vehicle has become one of my it has become a part of my World of Tanks experience, and I'm really saddened by the fact that I've only picked it up like a few months ago, that I haven't really played it earlier, because I had this tank unlocked for a long time. If we take a look, I had the HWK12, and then I managed, I think it was back then when I had the RU251, and then I played the RU251 when it was still the tier 8 light tank, and I played that, unlocked the prototype, and never played the prototype. And then I finally got the RU251 as a tier 9 version, and I had the Leopard prototype A, and I really wanted to get the Leopard 1, which I have actually unlocked now. It's in my garage somewhere. I haven't seen it yet. Oh, there it is. But I don't have the crew on it yet, so I haven't played this tank. I'm not one of those guys who has to play the tier 10s immediately, but I should get going on this tank, because what I've seen, what this tank is capable of, I really want to try it out. So, going back to the Leopard prototype A, if we take a look at the statistics, I've played 154 games, and a standard or average damage of 2,653. And actually, this is what really surprised me. I was so, like, in love with this tank. I've noticed that I was really good in this vehicle, that it took me 154 games to get the 3 marks on this vehicle. It's exactly 95%. I'm not sure if I'm going to be playing this tank anymore, since I have unlocked the Leopard 1, and I do need a crew, and this tank does have a crew ready to be placed on the Leopard 1. But right now, I can't bring it over myself to sell this tank. It's just that good, and that's exactly the reason why we're going to take a look at the game that has gotten me the 3 marks on this tank. So I'll see you on the game. Game where I did unlock the 3rd mark of Excellence on this tank, and as you can see, it is a tier 9, tier 10 match on the map Murovanka, and we're playing an encounter battle. That means there's one flag in the middle, and that flag is going to be contested by both teams, and you either win by destroying all the tanks or by capping the flag or the part of the base that is right there. But at the same time, the capping has been reduced, I think, by or has been increased. The timer has been increased by, I think, twice the amount of time. So if you have one player in the cap circle, it takes you like 3 minutes. Instead of the 1 minute and 30, if you have like 2 players in it, it's going to take you 1 minute and 30, and if you have like 3 players in it, it's going to take you 1 minute. So yeah, it has been pretty much increased so that people don't immediately jump on the cap circle and win the match like that. So why are we not going over to the forest part of the map? That is because that is one of the things that I had to learn in a very, very in a painful kind of way. You guys know that I like to play the roles of the vehicles, you know, the designated roles of the vehicles. Like, for example, the medium tanks that should be flanking and should know which part of the map they should go, which they shouldn't, because like brawling medium tanks, that is just not that ideal. But still, I'm not going to the forest, and that is because mainly in World of Tanks you have to be very careful with reliance. You cannot rely on a team too much, because you'll never know what your team is going to be doing. There's no real sense of team play in random battles, and it may sound harsh, but that's the current reality that we have. And until Wargaming actually do implement something that will encourage more team play, I will not be going into places that do tend to fall apart pretty damn quickly. And that's what I have noticed in the last few weeks, because people, they don't really want to play certain parts of the map. They will abandon it, and better than, you know, I think it's better to follow the lemming train than being there all by yourself and getting taken out fairly quickly. I know sometimes it can be very, very, very irritating, and you can see that those two tanks that were hiding over there, that were trying to hold that flank, they were taken out fairly quickly. But enough about this, enough about talking about problems in World of Tanks. Let's talk about this tank. I think this is one of the most competitive tier 9 vehicles, at least tier 9 medium tanks in the game. To be fair, I do like all the tier 9 tanks in the game. Almost all of them, at least the ones that I owned. The E50 is really, really good. The M46 Patton is really good. The T54 is godlike, and this tank is just really good as well. I will not talk about the Badchat 25T AP because I haven't played it. I only played the Lorraine 40T, and that was just not very good at that tier. I think it's much better at tier 8 now. But yeah, so I think at least medium-wise, these tier 9 tanks are not too bad. But what is so special about this tank? Well, this tank does get a tier 10 gun. It doesn't get the protection that the E50 gets. It doesn't get that crazy hull and turret armor that the T54 has, but it does get that tier 10 gun that the Leopard 1 has. And this gun at tier 9, tier 7 and tier 8, it does have a lower rate of fire. It does not have the same DPN as the Leopard 1, which is pretty damn self-explanatory, because I think if this gun would have been as good as on the Leopard 1, it would have been just way too overpowered, because this tank right now in its current state is very, very strong. It does couple the amazing gun with this very, very, very good mobility, and at the same time you have the gun depression. And you don't know how much I have missed having gun depression on tank. Ever since I've been starting playing the Object 430 line, I've noticed that gun depression is something you take for granted on a lot of vehicles. And the Soviet tanks just don't have any gun depression. When you're running around in a tier 9 tank with 3 degrees of gun depression, you know that you're absolutely fucked. So, talking about the gun, talking about the accuracy, talking about the armor, this tank does not have any armor, but it does pretty much compensate you with an amazing gun. And up until this point, we've already dealt 2,687 damage, and this is not going to look like a win. But in order to get the 3 marks of excellence on this vehicle, you need to do over 2,500 damage. That's what I noticed. So if you do over 3k damage, you'll get at least a few percentages of better increased gun mark, and at least progress towards your gun mark. And you can see that this tank just, it does dish out the punishment when it can. Unfortunately, there I kind of missed the Sheridan. That should not happen, but still. What I've noticed on the other hand on this tank is that it doesn't really have gun depression towards the back, so you always have to stick to the front. If you don't stick to the front, you will not be able to shoot downwards, like depress your gun enough to shoot behind you. So that is one of the things that you have to keep in mind. But what I just have thought about this tank, it's just very reliable. It's pretty much the picture of a reliable tier 9 medium tank, at least gun-wise, and mobility-wise. It's a very good all-round package if you can get around the fact that it does not have any armor. But other than that, it's just such a beautiful tank, and I think I will try, and I think I will cover this tank in the next What to Expect video, which I'm not sure when it's going to come, but I'm gonna try to make some time and move on some of these videos that I wanted to do and wanted to make since I think for a while now. So I hope you guys did enjoy this little review, or not review, this little representation of my 3 tanks that have 3 marks of excellence on them. I'm currently working on a few other vehicles, namely the T110E5, which is currently at 93.1% marks of excellence, but somehow it's kind of stuck. It's not moving forward, so backwards right now. It's kind of stuck. I'm not sure what's going on, but I hope that Wargaming do get that fixed. So I will see you guys in the next one. Keep on tanking.